If you have been thinking about getting a booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, you may have heard that the FDA has just authorized a mix and match booster option. So on one hand, this is great news because it gives us a lot of flexibility, many more options, but it's very confusing. It raises a lot of questions. Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal and I want to welcome all of you once again to my weekly video update. So I was expecting this decision to come, a mix and match booster dose option. And what that means is regardless of which vaccine you took first, you can take any of the three vaccines that are now authorized as a booster dose: Moderna, Pfizer, BioNTech, and J&J. So it doesn't matter what your first vaccine was, you are now able to get a booster dose of any of these three vaccines. That's what it means. So I was expecting this decision to come, but not so quickly. I listened into the FDA's presentation and the research group that did this work, their presentation to the Vaccine Advisory Committee, and the discussion was very positive. But the clinical trial that they have conducted is actually pretty small in scope, and it is not a random clinical trial. So compared to a traditional clinical trial, which is randomized and is blinded, this is an open label clinical trial. But the data is pretty solid and there are no new risk factors. So yes, on that ground, I was expecting this decision, but not so quickly. So we'll talk more about why I think this has happened in this particular video. We'll discuss that. But first, share in the comments below your questions or your thoughts. Are you planning to take a booster shot of the COVID vaccine? Why or why not? Share your thinking with me. Do you have any concerns, questions about mix and match? How do you feel about mix and match option? Please share below and I will address those questions and comments as soon as I possibly can. Now, before I start, I want to address two very key questions that many people have asked after watching some of my videos. And the first one is, hey, we have been focusing a lot about changes in antibody levels, but you know, the immune system is more than just antibodies, right? We have T cells and they do their own thing separately from the B cells, for example. What is that about? Why are we not hearing enough information about that part of immunity? So I have actually looked into that and I will be presenting this information in a better way, more complete way in another video with you. Most of the data that comes out is on changes in antibody levels. Now, having said that, the full immune response and all those testing is done as part of the random clinical trials that was done early on, and the FDA looked at that data when they authorized these vaccines. So it's not that the information doesn't exist, but more conversation about antibody levels is happening now because more and more data is coming out in that regard. But I will be producing another video about the total immune response so we can all understand what is going on. The second question people have asked me very commonly is natural immunity versus vaccine-induced immunity. Say you get an infection and you are not vaccinated and you recover from it. So obviously your immune system had responded, now you have antibodies in your system. Question is that level of immunity not sufficient? Do you still need to get the vaccine? I will be talking about that in more detail in another video, but the bottom line is even if you are previously infected and have recovered, getting the vaccine actually is like getting a boost. In fact, it's an automatic booster shot if you got the vaccine. There is no new risk, no harms. In general, like I always say that, in general, on an individual level, you have to analyze your risk and evaluate that in consultation with your doctor. But in general, overall, there's no new risk. So even if you were previously infected, getting the vaccine is like getting a booster shot, priming up your immune system even more to fight this battle on an ongoing basis. But again, that's a risk-benefit decision you must make on an individual basis by talking to your doctor. But I'll be talking more about that in another video. I hope these topics are of interest to you, but if there's something else in your mind, leave a comment below. And again, I will be addressing that in my comments back to you or in another video as soon as I possibly can. I really enjoy doing that and listening from you. So please don't hold back and share any thoughts and comments. Even if you don't agree with what I present here, share those thoughts and comments below as much as you can. Okay, so let's talk about mix and match, right? That's a main focus of this presentation. I will go into some data, but my main focus is going to be clearly explaining to you what it means for you. Who is eligible? What kind of time period you have to wait before you can get a booster dose? And what are some of your options? So we'll spend a little bit more time on that towards the end of this video. So make sure you watch all the way until the end. All right, so let's look into the data. FDA has authorized mix and match booster shots. Great news, right? We have 3 vaccines available, Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. These are the mRNA-based vaccines, 2 doses. Johnson & Johnson is an adenovirus vector-based DNA vaccine, only 1 dose as a primary series. So they are all authorized now. That means regardless of what you took before, you can take any of these 3 as a booster dose. FDA looked at recent clinical trial data, and I will talk about that briefly, that was presented to the Vaccine Advisory Committee. And it basically talked about changes in antibody levels and of course adverse events, the side effects, the risk factors. They looked at that. But they also looked at many more data points from outside the US. They did not present that, but I think FDA has been monitoring it because these things are happening in other parts of the world already. And finally, they are showing that the booster dose of any of these 3 vaccines after a primary series shows increase in antibody levels without any additional risk factors. So that's the main thing to understand, that it works, it boosts the immune system after a certain period of time, and it brings the antibody levels to a higher point. Okay, so they presented much more information in their package, but I'm going to focus on the binding antibody levels for these booster doses because that's easy to understand and very, very intuitive. So these are the IgG binding antibody levels to the spike protein of the original Washington strain of the coronavirus that was detected early part of 2020. That was the very first strain that arrived in the United States. And these are the binding antibody levels for that particular strain. Now, they did testing against Delta variant as well, and the results are pretty good. But I'm not going to show that information. I'll give you a link. You can get more information from that data package. So again, very busy slides. So we're going to spend a little bit of time because the next 2 slides will look about the same. So here we are looking at just the Moderna booster. What happens to the Moderna booster? And here are the primary vaccines. So first, let's look at the J&J. This box is the J&J vaccine. This is at day 1. And all these people have had their first shot of the J&J vaccine. And there was a certain amount of time that passed. On day 1 before the booster was given, this was the level, and day 15 and day 29, as you can see, it's a pretty big increase, and this is a log scale of the binding antibody level. So from about 100 or so, it came to even more than 1,000. I'm guessing like maybe 5,000 or so. Now, second panel is if your primary vaccine was 2 doses of the Moderna vaccine. So initial levels are high even after a certain time has passed. So yes, antibody levels came down, but not as much as they came down with the J&J vaccine. But still, after the booster of the Moderna, after Moderna is showing change in the antibody level on the higher side. Now, if your primary vaccine was Pfizer and you took the booster from Moderna, again, you're going to see a rise in the antibody levels. And here is the link to the report, the presentation that I will provide as part of this video. Okay, so let's look at what happens if you take the Pfizer BioNTech booster. Okay, same setup of the data. First, we will look at J&J as the primary vaccine. So if you took the J&J as a primary vaccine and took the Pfizer BioNTech as the booster, you will see a pretty high increase in the level of binding antibodies. If you had the Moderna vaccine as the primary vaccine, 2 doses, and you took the Pfizer BioNTech as the booster, again, it'll go up. And similarly, if you took the Pfizer and the Pfizer booster shot, it'll go up. Finally, we will look at what happens if you take the J&J vaccine as a booster. So, if you had J&J to begin with, the booster dose of J&J vaccine is showing Some increase, but not that much. And look how big the range is. There's a lot of variation, so some people may not see a very high rise. But if you took the Moderna as a primary vaccine, 2 doses again, and took the J&J as the booster dose, it is showing a pretty high increase. Same for Pfizer. So the antibody change data is showing very clearly that no matter what was your first primary vaccine, the booster dose from any of these 3 vaccines increased the level of antibodies. And the safety data that was presented, a couple of serious side effects for sure, but they were not related to the booster dose. They were unrelated. There were other medical issues. And other side effects like reaction at the injection site, maybe pain, some swelling, some redness, some systemic issues like headaches, fevers, similar to what was presented for the primary vaccine. So there is no new risk, and the frequency and the severity, meaning how bad these events are and how frequently they are happening, is also about the same. So the data looks pretty good, right? The confusing thing is who is eligible and how long do you have to wait to be able to get a booster dose. So as a follow-up to this authorization, what happens is that the CDC then convenes another meeting of an expert panel, and CDC is responsible to now come up with a policy to implement this authorization. So this is what I'm going to share with you in the next slide. So who can get a booster shot and when? This is FDA and CDC guidance. There's a link here that I'm going to again give you as part of the video. You can go there and read more about it. Bottom line is that you can get any of the 3 boosters regardless of your original vaccine type. However, FDA expects most people to get a booster of the same vaccine type. They are not recommending one over the other. In fact, their expectation is that most people will continue with the same type of the vaccine that they received first. However, it opens up the options for them in terms of availability or any other medical issues that they might have faced. In consultation with their doctor, they can now choose to get another booster type. So here is a little bit of a detail that we should be aware of. Say you took the J&J vaccine, first one shot of the J&J vaccine as the primary dose. You can get after 2 months, at least after 2 months, this booster dose of any of these 3 vaccines. And if you are 18 years of age or older, you are able to do that. Anybody under the age of 18, they cannot get a booster dose. So the good news for people who receive the J&J vaccine as a primary dose is that these options are actually available to you just after 2 months. Go talk to your doctor if you're concerned about the J&J vaccine and their levels. You can get the J&J booster, or you can choose to get Pfizer or Moderna after J&J. So you can get that booster dose much more quickly. Now, if you took the Moderna or the Pfizer 2 doses as the primary dose, you have to wait at least 6 months. And not everybody can get a booster dose. Only those who are 65 years of age or older, 18 to 65 years old at high risk of severe COVID because of medical conditions, or 18 to 65 years old who are at high risk due to exposure in their jobs. Lot to digest. So let's talk about that in just a minute. To again repeat, if you took the J&J vaccine as the primary vaccine, after 2 months, and if you are 18 years of age or older, after 2 months, you can get any of these 3 vaccines as a booster dose. But if you took the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines, you have to wait at least 6 months before you are eligible for a booster, and even then, not everyone is eligible. Only those who are 65 years or older, or younger people who are at severe risk of severe COVID-19, or their jobs or their exposure puts them at a higher risk. Now, bottom line is, talk to your doctor. If you are concerned and you don't really officially come into that category after receiving Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, talk to your doctor. Your provider may actually refer you, and that should be fine. You can gauge your own level of risk and exposure, and you can answer appropriately the questions they will ask if you walk into a pharmacy to get the booster dose. You can answer that honestly and appropriately if you have gauged your risk appropriately. But most people will go for the same vaccine type. Let me know in your comments if you would like to choose a different vaccine type and why. What is your rationale? What is the reason for that? I would love to hear that from you. But I hope it clarifies the picture for you. Okay, but if you have questions, please share below. Now, let me close this conversation by sharing with you my thoughts on why FDA took such a fast action. And I learned about this by listening to a nearly 2-hour conference call that FDA organized with journalists and reporters. And many great questions came out of that. So here is FDA's thinking. FDA's thinking is that we are at, and now they are looking at big picture. They are not looking at every individual. They're looking at big picture. We are at a time where we still have a lot of transmission in our country. Delta variant is still strong and new variations are coming. New mutations are coming every day. We have evidence, very clear evidence, that antibody levels are going down and rates of transmission are still high, which puts all of us at high risk of getting reinfected. Now, let me emphasize that the risk of severe COVID-19 and even hospitalization is low, but do we really want to take that chance, right? Risk low doesn't mean it's zero. If we get infected, there's a good chance we might end up in the hospital or have severe COVID-19. So every individual has to evaluate that risk. What FDA is saying is that we want to lower the regulatory hurdles for you to make that decision in consultation with your doctor. We want to give you more flexibility. Let's say you took J&J vaccine and you have heard news about side effects or antibody levels not going as high. Now, I talked about J&J vaccine data in another video where they are showing that their antibody levels are low, but they are more stable over time. Fine. But you can talk about that with your doctor. And if you have concerns, you should have the option to go for another vaccine type, right? As a booster dose. But if FDA does not take this action quickly, you will not have that choice because these vaccines are not fully approved. They are under emergency use authorization, except the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. So long story short, what the FDA is trying to do is give the public more options, give the doctors more flexibility, and depending upon an individual situation, make the right decision for them. That's what they're doing. They're not saying, go do a different booster dose. In fact, they do expect most people will go with the same type of vaccine that they took first. Share with me your questions and comments. I hope this is useful to you. Anything else on your mind? Anything confusing, lingering thoughts, other data you might have seen which is confusing? Share in your comments below what you are wondering about. And again, I will address that as soon as I possibly can. Well, I want to thank all of you for your continued interest and attention and engagement. And I love the conversation you are having with me by leaving the comments. If you're new to this channel, I welcome you all. And I hope you will consider subscribing and liking this video and sharing with your friends. Because what we are trying to accomplish is build a very good understanding of the information that's coming at us so quickly and make the best personal decision for us and our loved ones. That's what we are trying to accomplish. Continue to share your thoughts with me, and I wish you all the best, and I hope all of you will continue to stay safe in these still very, very difficult circumstances.